morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where in the world you are, and of course, what time of day or night it is either. Welcome to the podcast Up on the Edge with Al and Owen. I'm your host, Alan Neild, Big Al, or just Al, whatever you want to call me. And each week, I'm going to be joined by regular co-host Owen Sherratt and other special guests along the way too. Right, let's get right into it. This is the podcast Up on the Edge. Who do you think we got today? What's
Look at ours, his radio picture, isn't it? Look at his radio picture there.
Ta, ta, ta. You need to turn your camera on, Mr. Hoyle.
Oh yeah, there we are. Start video, hang on.
Listen to that voice.
I know, it's like velvet, isn't it?
Mate, I've got goosebumps. I've got goosebumps on my nipples.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Look
there
at him.
He is.
He's
on
got
Granada. Live from the north, it's Andy Hoyle. How you doing, mate?
This is Granada.
Now, before we go any further, today I got really excited, but I'm looking for a new Mini. How much can I get one from?
There is a huge range available at a well-known Oldham motor dealer.
I was at work and I said to Sue, interviewing him tonight, love.
In fact, there's over 300 cars in stock.
Now then, for those who join us and don't know, Andy Hoyle is that voice that no matter where you go in the country, it's there. It's there. It's like Jiminy Cricket.
He's a living legend. That's exactly what he is. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. I'm very flattered that you regard me in such terms.
Yeah, well, you know it is. You know it is. We were looking at some photographs. Well, I was looking at some photographs of you today, actually. We were at I think it was the Bella Vista last year. We got on the Christmas party from Radio Cough Cough that we can't mention because they keep threatening to sue me.
They keep threatening to sue you. How can they sue you when they don't exist anymore?
It's the brand is still owned by a certain big group.
Oh, I see.
You get me?
Okay. Yeah, right. Even though they're not using it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like it's spare, like a t-shirt.
I blur all this out.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
Sometimes he does anyway. So Andy, how are you keeping you? Well, it's all one way to describe you as a bit of a radio whore, really, aren't you?
Well, I'm not as much now because there's nowhere to whore at.
Some way of putting it. It's no, you're right. It's not. I mean,
what does a whore do when there's no street corners left?
This is exactly it. What do you do? I don't know. But
can I just sit back and listen to this voice? I'm just going to let you two waffle on.
Yeah, hey, that's the first, isn't it? I'll just sit back and not speaking. Hey, no,
I wasn't prepared for being allowed to get a word in edgeways, Al.
So then, in all honesty, how many years have you known Al then? Because it's quite a while. I mean, I've only known you 4 or 5 years since you come back to.
It's more than that, you know. It's more than that, I think.
Yeah. What for me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I did 10 years.
6 years.
It's got to be about 6 years, I'd say. Yeah, thinking about it, But I mean, you've known Al sometimes, haven't you?
Yeah. So, Al, when did you arrive at Revolution? Are we allowed to say that? When did you arrive on the edge?
I don't give a shite. I think it was 2000. It was either 99 or 2000. It was literally about 6 months after it opened.
I think it was when you say after it opened. I think it might have been after it moved to the Sarah Moore.
Yeah,
there you go.
Because I don't remember you ever appearing in the hilarious studio in the Spindles.
No, I did. Now, do you want my claim to fame about that?
Oh, tell us.
Right. So my claim to fame is that a band I was with won the Key 103. Can we mention that one as well?
Yeah,
we won the Key 103 Battle of the Bands competition. And actually, no, we didn't. We came second, and there was a bit of an outcry because we should have won it. And the CD that we sort of made afterwards with the band was one of the last songs ever played from the Spindles.
Right. Wow.
Because I remember going in really, really late at night because they were like, I'd phoned up and said, any chance you can play one of our songs? They were like, well, we're actually closing down tonight. up here. There's loads of presenters here. And I went up, mate. There must have been about 20, 30 people in these, probably 2 rooms. There wasn't a great deal of space at all.
No, not at all. No.
And we sat there for half an hour. They played the song and we cleared off, and that was it. The next thing, I'm on the radio. It was weird. So
that place that you went in the Spindles, it amused me because obviously the studio was quite nice, and the all the studio equipment was out of the old Piccadilly.
Yeah.
So the studio where the presenter sat was quite nice. Outside that, there was a room perhaps as big that was the office area.
that was
And
it. Yeah.
the area where we worked on production was so small, it was called the production shelf. And and the news team read the news from an old kitchen that had a piece of board put over the sink
To stop
and
the reverb thing.
yeah, and to
Yeah.
and with a microphone stand stuck in a hole drilled in this board,
Wow.
and that of course was called the news kitchen.
See,
Right.
the thing is, though, it's amazing because obviously people listening wouldn't have seen that. They'd imagine you a big plus studio, a bit like what Al's got there.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah,
So
look at
just
that,
just
yeah.
goes to show what a great medium radio is.
Yeah.
You know, it
Theatre
really
of
is
the
the
mind.
theatre mind, of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Radio
exactly
is
that.
defined theatre of mind. Now, I was having a bit of a conversation with Mr. H last night, sort of texting and one thing another, sexting, all that.
Whatever you do,
Let's
yeah.
just
obviously.
go there. Let's just go
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
And
right, yeah.
and
Not denying
what he said to me was, and don't deny it, Andy Hoyle.
it. I know what you're gonna say.
I've got a bit of a studio up in the loft, Al. Shall I use that? So I went, that's where mine is. You may as well. He went, there'll be a lot of piss taking though. He says, because it's dead untidy. There's loads of shit up there. He said, but if I can get on quick, what I'll do is I'll put one of those false borders behind me. So that's why he's got the Granada logo.
Ah,
That's what he's
Granada logo.
doing.
can't,
the
I can't
Granada-
fault you.
The Granada logo is there because I'd rather look like I'm on Granada than in the middle of a Channel 5 documentary about hoarders, which you can't look like without that there.
Hey, don't, because I was telling Al, I think one of the past podcasts, I was on How Clean Is Your House, not because I was there, but because this woman had a picture of me on the mantelpiece.
I didn't know
And,
this.
Did you not know?
No.
Well, How Clean Is Your House? Obviously, it was Kim and Aggie. They went round to one of the volunteers at the radio station that I've worked at when All FM in Longside. And they go around to this person's house and we're cleaning it. And when we did the launch, there's me, there was another one of the people and a couple of volunteers and this woman that was in Coronation Street at the time, played character Charlie, can never remember her name. Rather nice young lady. So you had the picture, it was in the paper. She could outprint a frame. So Kim and Aggie there cleaning this frame, and there's me on this bloody picture.
Really?
everyone's texting me going, hey, you know how clean is your house? You know how clean is your house? I didn't know anybody watched it. Never mind be on it, but yeah.
So what was it, just a weird listener that was stalking you?
No, she was actually a presenter, and Vicky was. And she was just on How Clean Is Your House. And,
Wow.
and I tell you what, I couldn't believe it, how bad the house was.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You see, I could, out of embarrassment, I couldn't do it.
No.
Even if I had, I have a very nice house, thank you very much. Or when you've been many a time, please justify that.
Yeah, you have. Boiler shit, though.
But it is. The boiler's shit, definitely. But I forgot where I was going with this now. But yeah, if I had a really bad house, I wouldn't be appearing on a TV show and showing people how I lived. Just wouldn't be happening.
But the balance of that is, all right, you wouldn't want to appear on the show, but it depends which would win out, embarrassment or laziness. Because you'd be too embarrassed to appear, but if your house was in that state anyway, you must be pretty lazy and you can get Kim and Aggie to do all your cleaning for you.
Can you
there's
imagine the
about
bollocking
30 of
you'd
them
get off
ending.
Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mind that Aggie's as bad, isn't she?
The OI. Both.
You know what I mean?
Oh, it's frightening.
So
it really
listen,
was. But
Andy, let's just get back to radio for a second, because
Okay.
how long have you been in radio? Why did you get into it? All that kind of stuff. What's the background?
I mean, I know you won't believe it, but it is 30 years.
You just don't look old enough. Was you at school?
Thanks, Owen. That's the correct answer. Yeah, because a mate of mine did hospital radio and said to me, "Come and have a look at the hospital radio if you want, if you're bored one night or one weekend morning." I think it was.
Was it Ivan Brackenbury?
The whole thing was very Ivan Brackenbury. I don't usually do Tuesdays.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
On a route.
Sorry.
So that's how it started. Tameside General Hospital, 1989.
Was it something that you always wanted to do then?
I have to be honest and say it wasn't really. It wasn't sort of a childhood dream. It was, I stumbled into it and thought, oh, this is good. I quite fancy doing this.
Yeah.
Childhood dream was probably that sign behind me there. I always wanted to work there, and I did for a while, and hated it, or certainly didn't enjoy it very much.
That's got to be the worst thing. You know, when you sort of really,
Yeah.
you know, your mind's absolutely fixed on this is what I want to do. This is the direction I'm going.
Absolutely.
You get there and you just go, oh, this is crap.
Yeah, it was very much like that. All I wanted to do, I was kind of obsessed even with the building. You know, when you're driving along, or used to be driving along the flyover of the Mancunian Way, and you see that red Granada sign, all of that. It's just I just want to be in there. Just want to work in that building, walk up those marble steps in Key Street into the reception. Brilliant. And then got in, and it was a bit boring. But towards the end of my time there, it was just about starting to come right. And I thought I could stick with this and I could do all right. And then this work came up at Radio Top Shop.
Yeah, in the Arndale.
At the bottom
just
of
near,
the Arndale,
just near the escalators.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh, I tell you what.
So I thought, well, shall I give this a try or shall I stick with Granada? And for 30 years, I've thought, did I do the right thing or not?
So you worked at Topshop. Are you still wearing the same clothes?
Yeah, never changed.
Yeah, from
Can't
30 years ago.
Yeah, but back then it was good quality.
Yeah.
So it's weird because I used to remember coming to the escalators, you'd turn around, there'd be that glass window, and there'd be a DJ there. And
behind it, and like the coolest dude in the world.
Great,
that one and HMV as well in Manchester, they had one.
Oldham Street. Yeah. I auditioned for the Oldham Street one, and I did 2 hours. And after the 2 hours, I come out and went, "You talk too much."
Really?
Yeah. Because all it was, they give me a list of stuff I had to play, and they tell you, right, we're pushing this and pushing that, right, no problem. And I talk about it, and then I'd spin off and tell them about what I had for my breakfast. And, hey, and I was in the park last night doing a bit of dogging, and and you just go in there. That'll do.
You can't tell a short story either, can you?
No, I can't. No, you're right.
What was it about Granada that wasn't hitting the button for you then?
It was, we were the first intake of trainee technical operators, rather than sort of old school, properly trained television engineers.
Yeah.
And I think there was a little bit, sometimes you felt like there was a little bit of resistance to this idea, and we were just kids and not being paid a great deal and being expected to do the same sort of work, I suppose, in a way.
Getting bullied into it. Getting bullied into it?
Yeah, a little bit. It wasn't always the nicest working atmosphere, I have to say. I just didn't settle into it somehow. I always wanted to work in sound, and from my point of view, they were all miserable bastards.
I was going to say that.
I just thought, oh God, this is awful. And I'd never really considered working in the vision side of things.
Yeah.
But they gave me the opportunity to do that. And I've been doing that for a few weeks. And I thought, oh, this is all right. And the people I was working with were actually interested in sort of training us, and it was all going a bit better, really. But then, like I say, this other work came up, and I thought, really, I want to be on the radio. And to be honest, I thought I'll go and be on the radio for a bit, and then I'll go back to Granada, and I'll be able to say, "This is Granada." But of course, that bit never happened.
No, it's the same
I've
boat for
just-
about 100 years, wasn't it?
It was
Yeah,
wasn't it
yeah.
Charles
I've-
Foster one?
That's
Charles
the one,
Foster for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Now Charles Foster now is one of the head directors down at the Shaw Playhouse.
Right.
Just round the corner
Yeah.
from me. Yeah. I worked with him. I did the one time I did TV. I did a TV show from where was it? Silverstone Racetrack of all places. Myself, Charles Foster, and Caroline Whitmore off ITV. She does the all the entertainment stuff on ITV. So yeah, that was brilliant. It was a real good experience. But he is just the master. He's got it nailed down.
But of course, Charles Foster, as I'm sure you know, best known for being the voice of the Levers Chippy advert on Revolution.
I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, we were talking earlier on because some of the stuff that you get up to in radio and out of curiosity, how many stations you worked at now? About?
Gosh, I honestly, I've no idea. This time last year, I think I was regularly presenting on about 7 different stations.
All at the same time?
Oh, yeah.
More or less, not all at the same
No.
time, but
Yeah.
on a fairly regular basis. I think I was on about 4 every day.
Wow. Right. So some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes at radio stations, right? So there you go.
That's that nervous laugh that's going out there.
Shit.
This is the
What's he
story I
remembered?
thought he was going to tell before when he started going on about my untidy loft.
Hey, is that
Is
a
that a
euphemism?
euphemism?
Oh, man.
Get it
Welcome to
trimmed.
Andy
Get it
Hoyle's
trimmed.
Tidy loft. Who lives in a loft like this?
One of the things that probably the funniest thing, I don't know, I've not mentioned this so far, but I used to do the breakfast show at the Revolution with a guy called Lee Glasby, and he's a very funny guy. He's Lee Glasby. He's got a great radio voice, actually, just similar to you. And what we did is we'd gone in early, so I rocked up first off, let myself in, turn the alarms off, reset the alarm, and went downstairs into the news booth, and I hid under the desk in the news booth. Okay, you know where this is going, right? So at 6 o'clock in the morning, it was either Hannah Lever, not Hannah Lever, Hannah, one of the Hannahs that did the news there, or it could have been Kate Whelan, who is just
Right.
about the most famous female voice on the TV, in
Yeah.
radio, you name it. She's brilliant. She's got an amazing, sexy voice. And halfway through the bulletin, so Lee comes into the main studio, waves to her. So she's like, "Oh, it's fine. Everyone's here." Halfway through the bulletin, I grabs hold of her feet under the desk, starts to shake her feet and screams at the same time. Now you can imagine this is live on air at 6 o'clock in the morning in a dark radio studio. I don't know whether she did a sex wee or it was a normal wee, but she certainly did something. You know what I mean? So what have you witnessed? What have you come across in your time in radio?
There's a particular occasion that I can't erase from my memory. And it was at the original building of Tameside Radio, which I'm back on that station again now, but it's in a different building. I was
Do
on
I know
air.
where this is going? Do I know where this is going?
I was on air, and somebody appeared in the studio and started removing their clothes.
Really?
Did you work at Tameside Radio then, Owen?
I didn't know. It wouldn't have been me.
Well, it was somebody on this podcast, and it wasn't me either.
That'd be Al. You see, he's a bit of a streaker in his spare time, I think.
Yeah,
Al the Flash.
Yeah.
The funny thing was, if I remember rightly, so I genuinely did strip down and was dancing in front of Andy while he was live on air. I then sort of bundled my clothes up and wanders back into the office where there was nobody when I went in. And the station manager, Simon, was sat at his desk and he just sort of looked up at me. What have you just done? Get dressed. And then carried on working. It was like genius. Brilliant.
There were a few things that happened there in that building. There was we had a phone that was bright pink, neon pink, that flashed rather than, of course, because you can't have a telephone ringing in a radio studio, so it has a flashing light on it.
All day today or something.
But, of course, you can turn the ringer back on and sellotape the phone down so you can't pick it up, can't you, Al?
Glued it. I glued it. I glued it down.
I think my favourite one though, and it's only my favourite because you didn't do it to me. Now, I can't remember if it was on a pair of headphones or a telephone or both, with Marmite smeared all over it.
That was to Simon Walker again. He was the
I thought so.
Manager, yeah. And he'd really pissed me off for whatever reason. So the handles on his drawers, they all got it. Yeah. So all his pens that was in his stand on the desk, his headphones, the inside of his headphones got it, and his phone. When he lifted the phone at the receiver, I'd gone all around his phone as well, so he even had it on his ear.
On his ear, yeah.
It's I don't know. It was just.
Now I've met Simon a couple of times. I worked with his job. Well, it seemed all right to me.
It was just one of those things. Andy had an office there actually that had a board with a lot of people just used to scribble random things on. What do you had a name for it, didn't you? What did you call it?
In fact, it spread off the board, so it became it moved on from being the quotes board to being the quotes wall, and we just wrote on the wall.
I think there was many cock and balls and all sorts on there.
All kinds of things. All sorts. All actually written, graffitied on the wall in my office.
Yeah. In fairness, we've all worked at bigger stations, but the most fun, absolutely, was at Thameside Radio at that time. It was just hilarity from start to finish. It really was.
It was one of those places where it was the right place at the right time with the right people, and it was just a great few years there, great moment in time.
Yeah. So there's a few things I wanted to sort of touch base with you. In the studio at the Revolution, we had this little plaster cast monk that only had one arm.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
I did the breakfast show over a period of years. Probably most people will remember when I presented the show with Mark Haywood. It was Andy and Mark in the morning. That's probably the one that people remember the most. After Mark left, I did the show with one or two other different people, and I did the show on my own. Kev, who was our station manager in the later phase at Revolution, at the time he was the station producer. So we were getting new jingles and things made for the breakfast show. For some reason, he decided that I looked like a monk and was going to call the show, for a joke, The Monk in the Morning. But of course, it didn't stop at a joke, and he actually ordered the jingles and they went on air.
Really?
So I was called The Monk in the Morning.
What an ass.
Now, you see, I took this as a huge compliment, because we went to give, I think it was at Oldham Caravans, we were giving away a caravan, I think.
I remember it, yeah.
And we went to do this thing, and there were a few listeners there, contestants and different listeners turned up. And this bloke came up to me and said, "Are you the Monk in the Morning?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Oh," he said, "I was expecting a little fat bald bloke." So I thought, that's great. That means I'm not a little fat bald bloke. Brilliant. So I took the compliment. Yeah. But somebody sent in that little monk when I was the Monk in the Morning.
Right.
Not sure where it is now.
I think it's still there. What I'll do is I am due to. In fact, the pair of us are due to go back up and have a meeting over one
confab,
thing or
yeah.
another. Yeah.
Well, I'm there tomorrow fixing the ladies' toilets.
Well, I'll meet you there. I'll see if I can nick it.
Well, that's where we used to find you anyway, in the ladies' toilets, Al, so you're all right.
That's only because we put a shower in it in the end.
No, mate, the one's upstairs.
All right. Okay. Yeah. No, different one. So, Owen, me and you were talking about possible unearthly goings on at the Revolution.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Do you remember that?
I've had, well, I once had a ghost hunter in, and he got positive readings from the bar area. And he said there was some activity downstairs, but it wasn't as strong downstairs as was upstairs. And before I knew about the ghost, I'd seen something in the studio go through the wall. And you know, when you look up, and of course it was 2 bits of glass.
Yeah.
I first wasn't sure it was light, and then when I looked up, I thought, oh, it's light. And then I looked to the left, and I'd seen this female figure go to the left and through into Studio 2. And I thought, wow. And I never said anything. And it was... It wasn't Joyce. Oh God, it was Jill Gascoigne. Jill Gascoigne. Hey, Hoyle. It was Jill Gaston who said to me, "Oh, have you met the ghost yet?" And I went, "Fuck off." So,
have you witnessed anything going on?
I haven't, but I don't know if I've bored you with this story before, but I was interviewing a band in the studio from Ireland, and they're really good, called the Riptide Movement. And they came in with instruments and everything and played a live set. And it was great. And so they came in, we went down to the studios. And at the time, there were a load of records being stored under the stairs. And the guys from the band are looking around and said, "Oh, a nice vinyl collection there. Oh, yeah. And just looking around. Oh, the nice studios, aren't they? Yeah, nice. Come into the studio." And just as a matter of fact as saying, "Oh, you've got a nice vinyl collection," one of them says, "Oh, there's a ghost in here." I said, "Beg your pardon?" He says, yeah. He said, "Yeah, there's a ghost in here." He said, "It's not doing any harm or anything. It won't do any harm to you," he said. But he said, "And you can't see it, but there is something here."
Really?
That he absolutely, and he was sincere and serious, and he wasn't taking the piss. He was just absolutely sincerely saying, "There is something here."
I've got goosebumps. Which studio? Which one were you
This
in?
was in Studio 2, and he
Right.
said he could sense something at that window between Studio 2 and Studio 1.
which is where I seen.
You're joking.
Yeah, going between where that window is between Studio 1 and 2. That's where she walked across, as if it was a doorway.
Now,
through.
just I will swear now, I don't think I've ever told you that story before, Owen. And you
First time I've ever heard it. No.
And you've never told me your story before.
No, never.
Well, there you go.
When you said the window, it was exactly because the window, as you sat at the desk, was just sort of there
At the side,
and
yeah.
I say, when I'd seen something in front of me, I looked up and I thought it was just the lights hitting the 2 pieces of glass. And then when I looked up again, I could just see it move that way.
The weird
You
thing
know what the lights like in the studio? There's only 2 bulbs working.
Yeah. Well, the amount of times when I was on various shifts and you're downstairs on your own, the hairs stand up on the back of your neck and you think you've seen something and you end up going around turning all the lights on because you don't want to spook yourself out. You know, you've got to go on air because, you know, people assume there's loads of people in there with you. And actually, you sat in a room that's probably 10 foot squared talking to 4 brick walls.
Yeah.
However long, you know, it can be the loneliest job in the world. It really can.
Yeah.
And when it's a live show, especially, you know, stuff starts going on in your head. And it's like, I remember walking in there one day into Studio 1.
Now, was you clothed or naked at this time?
I was definitely clothed. I think I was due to follow Wayne Dutton.
Right.
Okay. I love Wayne. Absolutely adore him. And he was sat in the dark, right? And he sat in one of the blue chairs in the corner, rocking away. I went, "Wayne, are you all right?" He went, "Yeah, just talking to God, Al. Just talking to God." "I'll see you later." Back out the studio.
But yeah, I mean, the great studios and like some of the stations I've been to, I remember going to the one for the Black Country and in Birmingham there, Beacon FM. I was surprised how small their studio was, their on-air studio. It was like somebody's back. Well, it was somebody's back bedroom at some point because it's in the old Victorian house.
Right,
I was dead shocked when I went and went in. They showing me around during the interview and stuff. And I went in and said, "This is I can't remember the name of the girl that she does the afternoon. She's been to the zoo this morning. She recorded some, and she's dead set, and she's virtually stood up because you could hardly get a chair in behind the desk. It was tiny. I'm thinking, God, you know, studios, you don't realize how lucky you are because a lot of studios are tiny.
Absolutely, yeah. We're really fortunate at Revolution. I've worked in box-like studios, some very nice boxes.
Yeah. So, and another thing, Andy, I've got to tell you this is, do you remember where you got called to do a gig at short notice at 2BR? I think it was drive time.
Yes, yeah.
That's because I couldn't do it that day. I was taking him out to the hospital.
Fantastic.
You know what? I'd sent about 4 demo tapes in, and the Katie was doing the news there, Katie Booth, and she phoned up. She said, "I'm really sorry, but yours is the only number I've got on my phone at the moment. And what are you doing this afternoon?" I thought it's either a hot date or she needs something. I said, "What's up? Is there any chance you can get to the studios and do drive time this afternoon on 2BR?" And I went, "I can't. I'm really sorry. I've got to take mum to the hospital." And she went, "Oh, right." And I think from that, weren't you on there for quite a while?
Yeah. That was it was bonfire night. It was a bonfire night about 4 years ago, something like that, 4 or 5 years ago, and someone was off sick, and everybody else was going to this outside broadcasting event at this bonfire. So there was somebody else that I'm working with again now. He's on Tameside Radio again at the moment, Martin Emery, and Jill Garston was there as well, freelancing on the news. And obviously they'd worked their way through their contacts list, and everyone had said no. So they rang me and asked me to do it. Not only did I end up freelancing on there and on 2BR and on the B, but I bumped into another former colleague of mine, Gareth Webb, who I used to freelance with at the Links FM group. And he said to me, he said, "Oh, why don't you come back to the Links FM group, do a few bits there?" He said, "I'll get you back in touch with people." So that's how I ended up freelancing all over the place on 7 or 8 stations for the last 4 or 5 years. All because you couldn't do that gig, Owen.
I know, yeah. I tell you, shot myself. I could have left the plumbing behind to be a radio hole like yourself. You know?
Listen, I'm going to be brutally honest, Andy. I'd rather listen to your voice and your dulcet tones than his, because he's just an out and out mank, isn't he? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the thing is, I remember somebody phoned up, and it was late at night, and he answered the phone, and I went, "Evening Revolution," and "Oh, she talk like that in real life?" I went, "Yeah, of course I do. Not putting it on, you know." Thank God for that. I thought he would have been putting a Manc accent on.
Is that one of the things that did you ever put an accent on when you travel between the stations then? Or do you it's Andy Hoyle and that's it?
That's it. But I did make an effort to soften my northernness a bit.
Right.
Just a little.
You're northern?
I think I sound quite northern.
Wow. Yeah. This is northern. That is northern.
It's really northern. Hey, whatever the Gallagher's me, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. So listen, some of the funniest things that you've seen in radio then over the years, you've been to all these different stations. What debauchery can you tell us that nobody else is going to know?
I've told you some about you stripping off.
Yeah, that's just every day of the bloody week, though, isn't it? You know what I mean? The life and times of working with Big Al.
It's known as a shore stripper, you know.
Yeah. What about, all right, I mean, let's put it this way then. Have you ever watched the film, The Boat That Rocked?
Yes, yeah.
Great film, brilliant film. Yeah. And I see so many truths in that film. Do you see a similar kind of thing?
Yeah, a lot of people get very upset with that film, you know, because I think I'm a bit of an anorak, and I like listening to jingles, and I like looking around studios and things. But some people are so into it that they get very upset that film has got the wrong sort of tone arm on the turntable that that wasn't around in
No.
1966, and it shouldn't
Really?
be there. It's that amount of detail. No, I must admit, I don't spot that. But yeah, things going on in the studios that perhaps shouldn't have been going on.
So I'm lucky I missed all that.
I don't know you've missed it. I've walked into studios where the radio presenter's he's placed a CD on each of this girl's nipples, and he was literally spinning them around. Have you heard that story? Because I witnessed it.
I've not heard that story before, no.
Oh, man alive. Ridiculous. So, I mean, voice-wise and one thing another with radio presenters, you are right up there with Lee Glasby and Brendan Kearney for me.
Oh,
you know?
Brendan.
What a voice. He's just the ultimate professional. What about you when you was coming, let's say, through the ranks?
Yeah.
Who was the person you thought, oh wow, I would love to be him?
There in national radio, I've always liked and admired Richard Allinson. I think he's got a superb voice, and I think he just sounds effortless. It sounds so relaxed, but he doesn't sound bored or like he can't be bothered. He just sounds like he's chilling out with you, and I love that. Yeah. But you've also already mentioned somebody that when I first started working with him, I thought, you know what, you're really good, and that's Wayne Dutton.
Yeah, the most famous man in radio. He is. He's. We've got to get him on because the guy is just superb. He's a legend. You know,
absolutely,
and one of the nicest blokes that's ever walked the planet as well.
And that makes a massive difference. You listen to him and you think, you know, sometimes you listen to people, you think you're good, and you know you're good. Wayne's the opposite. Yeah, he doesn't realize how good he is at doing radio. He is brilliant.
Andy, it's got to that time. We've got to wrap it up, unfortunately. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'm certain that Mank Boy here, I know he.
Telling you, I'm going to try. I'm going to listen to this back and emulate your voice.
I'm going to listen to him emulating your voice and laugh. Yeah. No, it just obviously we're running out of time. But if people wanted to tune in and listen to you now, where did they go? What have they got to do?
At the moment, you can find me on a number of different stations. So I'm back at Tameside Radio as the program controller.
Hey, any jobs going, mate?
You never know. I'm also on air at the weekend, 7 till 9 in the morning, Saturday and Sunday. I'm also on air in the Isle of Man, and I'm on a station called The Sound, which is sort of oldies and easy listening. And then I'm on a station called Energy FM, which another friend of ours,
Jay McCreary,
Revolution colleague, Jay McCreary is also on. So Jay does the evening show on Energy FM and I present the Sunday breakfast show.
Andy, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. We'll get you back on soon.
You definitely got to get him back. Cheers, mate.
Enjoyed that. Thank you.